Sup everyone, welcome to another stream. Man, today we have quite the interesting topic. Surprisingly, for Ayaka and Shenhe being, Ayaka being one of the more popular units, she's usually not talked about a lot. There are some showcases here and there, basically demonstrating what she's capable of and her worth. But apart from that, like in day-to-day conversation, she doesn't really come up as much, especially not in recent times since Dendro has came out, right? So that's why today I want to kind of go over this stuff with you guys and reevaluate these characters and just talk to you guys. Bring a certain level of perspective from both CN and EN side, because it's very interesting that these different communities view certain characters differently at times, and at times they're the same, at times they're different. And Ayaka, Shenhe, especially once you get into the upper constellations of these two characters, are prime examples of how two communities don't really see the characters as the same. Now, yes, we're going to be talking about constellations a little bit here today, but don't let the whole thing be centered around it. Mostly, it's just going to be talking about the inherent values of these two characters and how they've kind of acted as like a point of guidance for HoYoverse when it comes to character design. Now, you guys might be wondering, like, Walrus, if HoYoverse truly used Ayaka as a point of guidance for character design, we would have never ended up with an atrocity like Dia currently is. And I get what you're saying, but also I want to just kind of demonstrate to you guys how it can both serve as a point of guidance, but also a tale of caution. Okay, now, am I just throwing random buzzwords out there into the abyss and seeing what sticks on the walls? Maybe, but today, for sure, Ayaka is going to get the spotlight, okay? Now, first things first, being a cryo carry and like a freeze-centric unit is already, I would say, fairly rare, yes, there are other options, but being a limited banner character that centers around freeze is, I'm just saying, like, it's not a common unit. You guys would like, so this statement might shock some people. You guys might be like, oh, what? Like, just Walrus, there's plenty of like limited banner freeze characters, like, and you draw a blank, because truly, the only limited properly designed freeze character is Ayaka. She's the only one. Now, some people might say, oh, Ganyu, right? Ganyu. But like, yeah, you can say Ganyu is a freeze character. In her prime, she was played in a freeze team. However, Ganyu has pretty much been taken now for melt. Her best in slot teams for most people are melt teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't like isn't her best in slot team even for Giga Whales also like reverse melt right now? Like, I don't know. Ganyu right now is still one of the most C6 Ganyu is still one of the most utilized speedrun character in the game. Like, there's just so much that she does in such a short amount of time. Her E resets her like charge attack, and then that thing also taunts enemies. This is the thing people always don't talk about when we talk about Ganyu, is how busted her elemental skill is with the effect to taunt enemies in that range. You guys, like, even when I say it now, some people might be in chat be like, what? That's not impressive. Like, it's whatever. But synergizing it with this charge shot is absolutely, it's just a match made in heaven. So and also remember that taunt works on all enemies. I believe there is no single enemy in the game that has resistance to that taunt. So you can be fighting monsters. For example, if you drop this elemental skill, it has an effect of grouping enemies that Venti's burst doesn't even have, if that makes sense. Although it's not as instantaneous, although it's not as like the AoE is not as large, but technically, Ganyu can group enemies that Venti can't even group, is what I'm saying with this skill. Now, you can, like, all taunt abilities have that, like, but if I put it towards that way, suddenly it sounds a little more broken, right? This taunt works on all enemies, shapes, and sizes, as long as they're within the AoE. So And she has 2 of them at C6, I believe, right? She has 2 of them, and it resets her charge attack. Come on, guys. Ganyu can group? Absolutely she can group. It's one of the main reasons why a lot of people still play her to this day. With her elemental skill, having that group. Like, did you see that AoE? It's actually, it's not too big, but it's like a press Kazuha elemental skill. Right? Ganyu can group? Yeah. Oh, I just read that. I just read that. Yeah. So her elemental skill, you see that AoE can taunt enemies, and all the enemies within this area will hover like around this and attack it. And then she'll destroy with it. So Ganyu is in my opinion, all right, I'll be quite honest, Ganyu is a more flexible unit than Ayaka is. Especially once you get into higher constellations. Right? Bennett's size AoE, I think smaller than Bennett. It's smaller than Bennett's AoE. Let me see Kokomi's. It's even smaller than Kokomi's jellyfish. If you guys see it, it's even it's smaller than Kokomi's jellyfish. It's not a big AoE, but it's kind of like Kazuha's press E, Venti's press E, not hold E. Pressed. It's a relatively small, because then like, it'll be a broken ass ability. And I also think it's smaller than Tainari's taunt. Tainari also has a taunt, if I remember. His elemental skill also has a taunt, which is cool. Unfortunately, it doesn't last very long because it scales off of her HP. I know it's weird. So let's see if I skill inherited HP. Here. So if you level it up more, it'll have more durability. But yeah, based on Ganyu's max HP, which is hilarious. Attracting them to attack it. Yeah. So awkward game design. Should have been skills with their attack. If Ganyu gets power cut, you can play it. Yeah. Ganyu is a more versatile unit. But anyways, back to Ayaka. So here's the thing, right? Let's get this straight first. Ayaka and Shenhe are not like essentially a match made in heaven. These two are not designed by HoYoverse to be played. Like, you could play them together, and yes, Shenhe is a huge, well, not a huge, like, it's a welcomed upgrade for Ayaka in freeze comps. Let's not, like, before we get further into the conversation, let's not start to insinuate that these two characters should be played together. They could, and ideally, they should, but Ayaka functions perfectly fine as a standalone solo carry character in a freeze compositions, right? We agree on that. So here's the tricky thing, right? How in the hell did HoYoverse slide a quick one like Shenhe between our ass cheeks while Ayaka functioned perfectly fine, 110% fine by herself? Nobody was sitting there being like, oh man, we really need a cryo buffer so Ayaka can feel good. Nobody said that. Nobody said that. And in came along Shenhe, and she somehow just was a welcomed addition, and many whales even C6'd her for Ayaka, who was already C6'd for these whales. Now that's the beauty of HoYoverse's design for Shenhe and Ayaka. These two characters, they, like, Shenhe, excuse me, I'm about to say something very sacrilegious towards Shenhe mains, but I gotta say it, you know, for the sake of continuing this conversation. Shenhe is much more like a parasite. Okay? There, I said it. Shenhe cannot really work by herself. She need a cryo carry so she could parasite off of it. Okay, that's the role of Shenhe. Now, yes, some people are like, what about physical carry? She buffs physical damage too. Yes, I understand that, but right now, like, that's like the sprinkle on top. I don't think most people were pulling Shenhe to build physical teams. There were people who did that, but eventually those people likely pivoted towards cryo carry teams. Now, the cool thing about Ayaka and Shenhe is that at C0, you don't really feel that kind of synergy. You feel it, but it's like if both of your, like, for example, mine, right? I had the opportunity to play on a Giga Whale account with C6 Ayaka, C6 Shenhe. Different characters. They are different characters. It is not the same synergy. At C0, it's a very like decent sized buff. Like it's noticeable damage change, but by no means is it like, oh, you should pull for it for that damage. It's like, to be honest with you guys, if I could have went back in time and was like, do I like, should I pull Shenhe? But like, I probably wouldn't even pull Shenhe because like, sure, like she's cool and all, but the power is just not there. The power is not there. It's like, maybe I wouldn't feel like this if I've never played like a C12 Ayaka Shenhe combo. You know, if I never played that C12 combo, I would have never felt this way. That's what sucks about testing accounts sometimes. Like once you got a taste of what what they could do together, now you, and then I get back on my, you know, basic vanilla C0 account, doesn't feel the same. Now, Ayaka's constellations are pretty decent. I would say up until her C2, it's pretty good, and then C4 is okay-ish. I don't want to get too much into the C4. I've talked about in the past. People like it sparks a whole argument. I don't think Ayaka C4 is as impressive, considering like Raiden Shogun has a much better version of this at C2. Now, granted, Ayaka can have this effect. Like, Ayaka can provide this debuff and other people on her team can take advantage of it, but let's be honest, if you're building a proper Ayaka team, who the hell apart from Ayaka is taking advantage of this skill? Nobody. All right, if you're building some weird-ass, wacky-ass team just to utilize the C4, sure, be my guest. But for the vast majority of time, a 6-second debuff, you ain't doing much with this, okay? So her C4 is mostly for herself. Let's be quite honest. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys can't even see that. Her C4 basically, her burst skill reduces the enemy's defense by 30%. Now, Raiden Shogun C2, albeit, ignores 60% of opponents do. Now, I'll say this once again. Ignores 60% and decreases 30%. Different concept. Different concept. Raiden Shogun has a more powerful, more potent, like, defense. It's not even shred. It's like, it just straight up, like, it's, I can't go into that. We're gonna spend the whole stream debating, but I'm just telling you guys, this decrease is not as potent as ignore. That's all you have to know. If Raiden Shogun had 30% ignore, hers would still be better. Okay, this is not like, this would be better if, let's say, there was a 12 or 15 second duration for this. Okay, but in of itself, it's mostly so Ayaka can shred down the enemy's defense a little more for herself to deal more damage. This is for her. Don't mistake in this for like, oh my goodness, I can throw out Ayaka's burst and my teammates can take advantage of it. Sure, maybe if you had like a C6 Ganyu, right? If you're playing this team that I have right here, Ayaka Ganyu, Kokomi Shenhe, sure. If you have a C6 Ganyu, you already have Ganyu burst going, right? You got like Ganyu like reducing cryo resistance and all that jazz, and then you throw this skill out, enemies are frozen, switch to Ganyu, E charge. Beautiful. Amazing, I get it. But for the vast majority of you guys watching this, it's for herself. And her C6 is pretty cracked. Ayaka C6, oh my god, it's insane scaling. Sorry. Now, once you get Shenhe to C6, is pretty much like an almost damn near permanent buff for Ayaka. Like whatever you're getting for, like, this is when you start seeing like the 100k ticks and like and you get everything off cooldown. Enemies are permanently frozen. You press buttons to delete everything. The ease of use, man, I'm telling you, the ease of use for Ayaka and Shenhe C12 combo is really one of not the most, but one of the most satisfying things in Genshin. It's press and delete, press and delete. It is, in my opinion, infinitely better than Eula's burst skill at C6. I don't have to do anything. I stand here, I press a couple buttons, right? I don't need to time it. I don't need to do anything. I just press a couple buttons and enemies just evaporate. It's gone. Poof. Disappears. Doesn't matter if they're bosses, doesn't matter if you're mobs, and this can synergize with like a lot of different units as well. I have Ganyu here, but when you have a C6 Ayaka Shenhe, you want an Anemo character here. Okay? You got, like, if you have C6 Ayaka and Shenhe, you want an Anemo, you can play Venti, you can play Kazuha. Literally, at this point, these two characters even make Venti right now feel good. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But truly, even if you have Venti on this team, he feels fine. It doesn't feel like he went anywhere because the free synergies makes everything just easy. The free synergy makes Venti's burst not feel as detrimental. Like it doesn't even matter you're fighting big ass monsters. Freeze them. Just freeze them. Venti burst. Do your thing. Right? Do your thing. You get your particles back and then you rinse and repeat. Like, although if you have to use 2 of Ayaka's bursts when she and Shenhe are C6 in this C12 combination, I really urge you to go reevaluate what you have built on them, because statistically nothing in the game survives a C12 combo attack. Nothing. Right? Unless you have multi-phase bosses, right? Apart from those scenarios, you can't, nothing survives. Like, even if those bosses were not like multi-phased, they won't survive either. Now, I see people asking in chat, right? So is Shenhe worth it for a free-to-play? Now, that's the video essentially we're going to make today, is that synergistically wise, are these two, like, if you have Ayaka, should you pull Shenhe? Or if you don't have Ayaka, should you pull Shenhe? If you don't have either, who should you start with? Now, to some, that answer might be obvious, but let's just go through it one by one and we'll record the video at the very end. So when it comes to carry potential, Ayaka is still, I would say, top 5. I think Ayaka is still top 5. She's still widely used. I keep referring to the CN Abyss usage chart that I have. It's in WeChat. It's like it's a side program in WeChat that I use. I follow it, and it has over 120,000. Let me say that again. It has around 100. Was it? I think it was a 119,000 something. It's a huge data pool that they pull from, and they evaluate the amount of people who own these characters, right? And also the amount of people who use these characters. So by evaluating these two data points, we get a much clearer picture when it comes to ownership versus usage. So it's very bad for a character to have a high ownage rate. So meaning a lot of people have them, but nobody uses them. So Ayaka, let me get the most recent update for you guys. Okay, I'm gonna open my phone. I'll read you guys the latest data they have for Ayaka. So you see, it's an app here in WeChat. Let's go to here. So it's opened. How should I show this to you guys? I know. I'll take a screenshot. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a PC version. So I'll take a screenshot. So this is the most up-to-date version of it. Don't worry, I'll bring it up on screen. One moment. No worries. No worries. Let me just... No worries, chat. All right. Is Ayaka even here? Damn it, she's not even here. What am I doing? Okay. One more moment. So we got up to Nilu, so we can start from after Nilu. Okay, she's here. She's here. I'm sorry, it's taken a little while, but we need the stats to be able to go off of something, right? Because you guys don't want me to just sit here and run my mouth and be like, oh, take my word for it. Trust me, bro. But okay. How do we do this? We go to this. You guys can see it. Yep. There you go. So this is the first one, and this is the second one. So we can zoom it in. Here you guys see Ayaka. So, with Bennett, so this is how I know how many people participate in this study. Bennett's ownage rate is 99.9%, and there's 119,394 people who owns Bennett, meaning that roughly 119,000 people participates in these Abyss data collection. It's a huge data pool, and I don't think there's a data pool in the West that can match this. Correct me if I'm wrong. 100,000 plus people collecting data for this is just incredible. It's much welcomed. So I always like to share this with you guys so you guys can get a clear picture of what characters are being utilized. Okay, here 100% is 119,695. Xinshu has 100%, but how come Xiangling also has 100% but hasn't? I don't know. I don't know. So yeah. We go down here. Yaimiko has insane usage rate, 47.7. And then coming to second, here we can see Ayaka. So Hu Tao has 38.4. Really, really good character. Ownage rate is actually a little less, surprisingly, than Ayaka. So by definition, Hu Tao is the better and more used carry. And I'll be honest with you guys, Hu Tao, you have an easier time building a Hu Tao team, kind of, than an Ayaka team. And it's a little less hassle as well once you have the team built. Ayaka teams, and then here we have Shenhe. You see right below Ayaka, we have 18.2%. So by all accounts of this, it's actually impressive how high Shenhe is. Considering you see characters like Sino, you see characters like Yoimiya. These are by no means like useless or bad characters. They're decent units, but like I said in the past, Sino leaves much to be desired. He only has a 19.3% ownage rate with a 16.4% usage rate, meaning most people who pull for Sino are using him. Most, not all though. There's just better options out there. That's the problem. Characters such as Kuki Shinobu are like, yeah, apart from the traditional 4 stars that are just off the charts when it comes to usage rate, it's Kuki Shinobu. And like, she's outranking a lot of 5 stars, even limited banner 5 stars. It just comes to show that Dendro really did a number on a lot of these units. I think if it weren't for Dendro, some of these characters, I think Ayaka would be higher, Ayato would be higher, I think Shenhe would be slightly higher, maybe Scaramouche would even be higher. But statistic wise, Shenhe actually doesn't have that many people owning her. Very few. And I'm willing to say maybe like 20%, 15-20% of this ownage rate is likely C6 Shenhe. So meaning like 1,000 or maybe like a little more than that. Like 2,000 something out of these 17,000 people. Like, especially remember, this is CN. Okay, this is CN, this is not EN. That's why the whale ratio may likely be a bit larger and the number of people whaling should be a little larger. It's because that from HoYoverse's study and their analytics, it was shown that Shenhe was a very successful C6 whale bait. In fact, I would go as far as to say Shenhe was the single most successful whale bait. Shenhe, and I think it also has something to do with the time she was released. During, I believe she was released sometime, what was it? Was it 2.5? Was it 2.5 or 2.4? Yeah, when she was released, we were about to enter like the slower patch. We're about to enter the slower patches, like the big rowdy patches were pretty much done. Yeah, there were still some sub-regions being released, but she was released during a time when players were anticipating things to slow down, especially Giga Whales who still wanted to get more out of Genshin. It was a welcomed addition. So when HoYoverse saw the success of Shenhe, and by, like, when I say success, remember, you got to think about it from the perspective of like a one and done limited character type of thing. It's no like Archon levels of success, but it's crazy for them to design a character that is this niche to also drive a certain amount of sales. And a lot of the sales came from whales trying to C6 her to pair with Ayaka. Now, yes, there were the one and done players like me who pulled just a C0 copy and moved on with their life. But seeing this kind of success with such a niche character, for HoYoverse, it showcased something that could be evaluated further. And they did try to evaluate this further with another example of Yelan, although they failed miserably. For them, not for the players. The players loved it when HoYoverse failed that experiment. But when it comes to Shenhe, I think this is probably the most successful. What's the word? I don't want to say successful. Like, she is a success, but she's also not a success, if you know what I mean. Like, no, like, I don't think many players are sitting here wanting a Shenhe, desperately waiting for a Shenhe. Like, that's the problem. Even people in chat right now, if you are polling, there's a higher chance you're polling for Ayaka over Shenhe. Very high chance. Yet, like, she is a if you guys look at this statistics, she's always hovering fairly high up. And the reason she's very high up is because of this rate. 18.2. Oh, you guys can see it. 18.2%. It's very important because not a lot of people owns this character, but the ratio of like the amount of people using her versus the amount of people who owns her is actually pretty damn high. And that's why she is able to even retain this position. It's crazy. She has no business being this high up on the usage list. Yeah, it's a good ratio. It's a good ratio. It's better than like Scaramouche. It's better than Sino. It's better than, you know, Yoimiya. But it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be this high. What are the coincidences that Yelan has 69%? Goddamn. Like, when we look at page 1, I think this should not surprise many people. Like, just looking at this list of characters, there shouldn't be many people be like, oh, I can't believe, you know, that character is on there. Maybe Yaimiko, right? Maybe for some of you guys, Yaimiko is like a weird one on this list. But apart from that, like, this is to be expected. And once we go to the next page, I don't think many people will be like, maybe some people are like, oh my god, the traveler already on the second page here, like, godly, you know. Maybe some of you guys might be surprised, right? I gotta get this thing on full screen for you guys. Yeah, there you go. Maybe some of you guys are thinking Ayato is on here. Wow, like, you know, Yoimiya, Mona making it on here, maybe surprising. Who the hell would have guessed Shenhe is smack dang right in the middle? Like, who the hell would have guessed that? It's just okay. Shenhe is an anomaly. I think that's the word I was looking for. Amongst all these characters that feel like they belong, Shenhe definitely feels like an anomaly. That's how I feel. She is by all means a luxury of luxury. For such a luxury unit to sit such high up on the ranking feels weird to me. I may be wrong. Maybe she completely deserves this, but it just feels weird to me. Outranking, like, actually, let me see who the hell is even below her. Like, who the hell is below Shenhe? Because I've only shown you guys maybe like a little more than half. But if we keep going down this list, so we ended at the Traveler. Yeah, Ganyu. Okay, get this, people. You know what? I'm just gonna screenshot this because there's way more shock value. If you guys see who is sitting below her. If I trust me, if I got you guys to blindly guess, you guys would have never guessed this ranking. Which that's why it makes it feel that much weirder, right? Like, let me see. One moment. Sarcasm says that list makes no sense. It doesn't, but it's the truth. It's statistics. Look who is below Shenhe. Okay, remember this list? Remember this? Right? Move this up a little bit for you guys. Bam! Ganyu, Zhao, Faruzan, Ito, Albedo, Kaching, Eula. These characters all statistically less utilized by Shenhe from usage rate. The amount of people using them is maybe higher, except Ito, right? But percentage-wise, it's less. This is why I say, maybe the statistic is a little unfair because we're trying to use usage rate, meaning the amount of people who own them percentage-wise who use them, right? That's what's skewing the data here a little bit. If we just look at usage number, like the number of times used, Shenhe is only 3,000. She's only appeared. So this is number of times appeared, this row or column. This is the number of people who owns her. This is the usage. This is the owned percentage, and this is the usage percentage. The only reason she is so high is because very little people own her. Only 17,102 out of the 120,000 people who participated in this data pool owns Shenhe. That's why she has this 18% and allows her to sit so damn high up. So TechDevice says, of course, Shenhe usage would be inflated because it would try to approach Ayaka's usage since they are paired together. Exactly. But remember what I said back to the actually, where's chat? Where's chat? There you go. Remember back when I said in the very beginning, and you guys agreed with me. Are you guys telling me that in order to play Ayaka, you need Shenhe? I don't think so. Yet, surprisingly, people actually went out of their way to get Shenhe's. But then look at this. Ayaka appeared Ayaka appeared 17,559 times. This is the number of times people used Ayaka. Only 3,106 of those. I'm just gonna assume all 3,106 of these appearances were with Ayaka. I'm just gonna assume that. Am I right? I don't freaking know. I'm gonna assume all of these were with Ayaka, but that still leaves like 14,000, right? 453 times when Ayaka appeared without Shenhe. So, and this still ranks her so damn high up, it doesn't make sense. And maybe this is gonna skew things a little bit for people. Could be appearances gone through. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I will give them the benefit of the doubt, saying that all of this was with Ayaka, but that still leaves 14,000, a vast majority. That's still like what? 80%, right? Is the math right? That still leaves somewhere around more than 80%, like 83 to 85% of the time that when Ayaka appeared, Shenhe was non-existent. So let's flip it around like this. For 80 to 85% of the players that participated in this data study, their Ayaka did not need a Shenhe. And remember, I tell you guys, out of the 3,106 that played Shenhe, there's probably a good 10%, like 300 or so, maybe 15%, 300, 350 of them were C6 Shenhes. So statistically, ratio-wise, is a very small margin, right? Very small margin of people owns C6 Shenhes. A lot of these Shenhes are most likely C0, maybe some like C1, C2s, like mixing in between there. Shenhe's banner was by no means revolutionary, but Shenhe's banner demonstrated to Hoyoverse that whale baits work. Like, when I think back prior to Shenhe's banner, I don't really recall. Can you guys also think with me? Prior to Shenhe's banner, was there another 5-star whale bait character? Right? Like a character that is designed to synergize with another character. Because I can understand them making 4-star buffers. And yes, somebody got to it before I did, but Marcus Bullock says C6 Faruzan is prime example. That's where I was getting at, is that Shenhe was a setup towards characters like C6 Faruzan. Shenhe was the first foundation, like that paved the way for what was possible in Hoyoverse, creating the monstrosity that is C6 Faruzan. Now, am I saying the kit that she brings is unwelcome? Absolutely not. I didn't say that. C6 Faruzan's kit is very welcomed and beloved across, all Anemo mains. Like she's a great character, support-wise, right? But Shenhe, the problem with Shenhe is that it showed Hoyoverse that they can get away with designing kits and setting them behind paywalls. That's how it is. Look, again, I want to point this back. 17,000 people owns her, but only 3,106 uses her. But yes, ratio-wise, that's actually pretty damn good. Like, ratio-wise, is pretty damn good. But so little people even went for her. Yet, this ratio here, this 18.2% ratio, shows Hoyoverse it works. It sticks. Right? Because look. If we want to argue, it's like, oh, Walrus, but no, but look at the numbers. Like, but we have to look at the ratio as well. It's very bad for Hoyoverse to make characters like Yoimiya. Well, I mean, not very bad, but you know what I mean. It's just Hoyoverse doesn't like it when ratios drop too low. Of course, they want their characters to have longevity. Why? Because reruns. If you, for example, right, look at Dia right now. What do you think her usage rate is going to be in the future? Let's just be honest with me, right? Do you think Dia's usage rate is going to be better than Keqing, better than Eula, better than Albedo, right? Where do you think she's going to And she's not going to get a rerun because there's no point to give her a rerun. What? Like why? Where's Eula's rerun? Oh, sorry, getting a little excited here. But the point is, where's Eula's rerun? Right? Like where's Eula's rerun? With 5.6% users, like HoYoverse can't even bring themselves to give Eula a rerun because they know this character is like kind of like close to dead in the gutter. 5.6%. And to be honest, she has 2 banners already. 2 banners. They've sold her twice. Her initial banner, which should have been the biggest and most successful one, and then they did a rerun for her, like about like what was it, a year later, and still tragic. 23,192. Not many people owns this character, and even less people use her. And this is the problem, right? When HoYoverse designs these limited characters, they always have to anticipate longevity. How can we sell this character back to the player base over and over again? Rinse and repeat. Keep printing that money for us, baby. And Eula is like the freaking ice cream machine at McDonald's. And here we have the final page, right? These are the characters that are worse than Eula. Klee! 24%! Owns her. So 29,573 people. Only 699 people uses her with a 2.4%. Where is Klee's rerun banner? Let me see if there's anything worse than Klee in terms of 5-star. Let me just see. Let me just check the statistics here real quick. Let's see. So, okay, I'm just gonna read to you guys because I don't need to take another screenshot. Nobody cares about these characters down below. I'm sorry. D-Look is 0.8% right below Chi-Chi. And the next 5-star, which you guys can argue if they're a 5-star or not, Aloy. Aloy, 0.1% usage rate out of 63,265 people owning Aloy, which surprisingly, only 52.8% of the people playing, only 52.8% of the people who participated in this particular data study owned Aloy. And out of these people, 10 people used her. 10! 10! Wow. Wow. Chat, take a wild guess. You know what? I'm gonna make this into a poll. Guess who the worst character... Actually, is it the worst? Let me see. It's unfair because they're all 0.1%. Is it fair? Guess who the last place is on this entire list. I'm going to give you guys 4 options and you guys can try to vote for who do you think is the worst. So, all right. I'm going to start a poll and I'll give you guys 4 options and let's see who can guess it right. Least used unit. They're all 4 stars, by the way, in Genshin. So, first we have Jinyan, followed by Chongyun, followed by Razor, and there's no way you guys can guess the last one. There's no way. Guess who's the last one I'm about to write? Guess who's the last one? Nobody can guess this. I haven't seen anybody write this unit's name. I'm just checking. Oh, somebody did write it. And here's the poll. Check it out. Who do you think is last place? I'll reveal the answer to you guys later. You know, It breaks my heart. Sometimes the characters that seem fun and innovative and different. Hazel. I'm sorry. I think I may have left out a U. But Hazel is Japanese. That's how you spell Hazel in Japanese. I go with the original. It feels bad, doesn't it? Right? You guys wouldn't imagine someone like Hazel is amongst one of the least used unit based out of ratio. So this shows, you see, this is why it's problematic for us in the West, is that I'm sure if we could gather data points, 120,000 different players in the West, it would look very different. And I'd say West, including Europe, NA, maybe even Southeast Asia. But I think Southeast Asia, for the most part, from what I've seen, they are more meta-driven, kind of, but not really. There are some very expressive people there as well. But CN, JP, for the most part, they are quite meta-driven. Quite meta-driven. Regardless of what kind of meta games I've played, whenever I partake in any sort of like CN whatever, they're quite meta driven, right? They're tryhards. They don't care like what they need to do in order to win, but they'll do it, which scares me a little bit. Really, like think about the character Hazel, right? Since we got Hazel in here where most people wouldn't expect Hazel. Why Hazel? What's wrong with Hazel? Was Hazel not a breath of fresh air? Come on, chat. Was Hazel not a breath of fresh air? Late 7 says, hey, yo, what's up, chat? Walrus sent a message on Discord if you can check it out real quick. All right. Let me see. Okay. Hey, yo, Walrus, do you still want... Oh. Let's not read that one. Does this make me a YouTuber? Okay. Nilu Bloom. In fact, actually, I was testing Dia on someone else's account yesterday. So the video you guys saw yesterday with me talking about Dia C1, I was running Nilu in the second half. Like, yeah, Nilu is absolutely busted. And it shows, right? Statistically, look at this. Look at that. Nilu, 46.8%. Surprisingly, out of like Nilu only has 31,400. Can you guys see this? I think I have. Oh yeah, you guys can see this. Nilu only has 31,426 people owning her, which is like, even on the second page, she's like the third least, right? Third least, yeah. So second page here, Shenhe is like the least owned. Goddamn anomaly. She shouldn't even be on this page. I'll be honest with you guys. And here, Sino, right? Apart from that, Nilu is... So, think of Nilu, statistically, Nilu is a jackpot, okay? For people who pull Nilu, for people who own Nilu, she is considered a jackpot unit, meaning most people would have skipped her, and most people did. As you guys see here, most people did. Only 26.2% of the people who participate in the study actually owns a Nilu. But she is so widely used. She is like the free-to-play crutch. I'm telling you guys right now, Nilu is more free-to-play friendly even than Alhaitham. Even though Alhaitham, we can reevaluate this a couple patches later when we see who gets more utilized. Is Nilu getting more utilized than Alhaitham once the meta kind of shifts away from buffing Dendro? I think Alhaitham would still stay pretty high up, but I don't think Alhaitham is going to be at 68.7%. I think Alhaitham might drop down to 30-something%, around Hu Tao. Maybe a bit better. I think maybe 40%. Around, actually, I think him and Nilu will fall pretty much into this similar ratio given time. Nilu is busted. Right, for whoever pulled Nilu should be very glad with their decision. You won. You won. Okay, what the hell is this? Okay. But yeah, C0 Nilu completely demolishes Spyro Abyss. Easy. All right, I'm going to end the poll and I'll tell you guys who was ranked last. It was Hazel. Hazel was dead last. Although they were all 0.1%, Hazel just ratio-wise, Hazel had the worst ratio, is why. But the last like 7 or 8 units were all 4 stars except Aloy. They were all 0.1%, but Hazel just had the worst ratio. Darth Kuhn is ain't gonna regret not pulling Nilu, not gonna be his lab rat. That's a great way to look at it as well. Is that when Hoyoverse pulls stuff like Nilu out their ass cheeks and just be like, hey, like I wonder how they're gonna react to this one. It's smart to stay vigilant, and you're able to resist the urge of just jumping in, because Hoyoverse has done this many times in the past, and Nilu just happened to be one that worked. And I think maybe Hoyoverse went a little overboard with Super Bloom and the ratios and everything, right? But back to our topic of Shenhe. Now that I've proven to you guys, statistically, Shenhe exists within Genshin's limited character roster as an anomaly, right? For a character that was released in 2.4, whose entire job is to facilitate like on-field carry, like she is a luxury premium character. She's not just a luxury, right? Not just a luxury. She's a luxury premium character. And remember, right, back to the numbers I showed you, 80 to 85% of the people who ran Ayaka ran her without a Shenhe. Which leads me into finally answering you guys the question. Do you, as a free-to-play player or a low spender, do you ideally want to pair Shenhe with Ayaka? Should you pull Shenhe? And the answer to that should be a clear no for you guys. I think Shenhe to Ayaka is not even as important as Goro to Ito. Think about it like that. To Sarah to Raiden. Stuff like that, right? Bennett to Xiangling. Those are like glue synergies that you ideally want to keep together. You want to invest to get more out of. Ayaka herself, her scaling is powerful enough that she can be a standalone carry in your team. So let's say if you didn't have Shenhe in this team, you can throw in bala 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 bala. Where is he? Oh, here he is. Without Shenhe, you can throw this. You can throw this dude in here. You can take out Ganyu. You can throw. Where is she? Rosaria, baby girl. There she is. You can throw this in here. This could work. Something like this, which is fine. If you don't have Kazuha, you can also throw. Hey, no. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Where is she? I can't find my characters. I swear. Oh, there she is. You can do this as well. This works fine. Yeah. Right? And I'll go even a step further. If you don't have Coco Me, you can do Rosaria. No. What am I doing? You can do Xingqiu. This is like as free to play as you can make this team. Like this. As free to play as you can make it. You can do Barbara as well, but I think Barbara, like actually, what you could do is Rosaria, Mona. If you have Mona, this is a very good one as well. In fact, a lot of people to this day refuse to pull Kokomi and still stick with Mona. Mona in this team is cracked. Like, just what I just showed you guys should already demonstrate to you how versatile of a unit Ayaka is, because the whole concept of freeze don't give a rat's ass about your scaling, don't give a damn about whatever the hell. It's simply a CC reaction. It's a crowd control reaction. That's why it's so busted, because as long as you have a carry who can take advantage of the mob's what the fuck am I the mobs immobility, is that a word? As long as you have a carry who's able to take advantage of the period where the mobs are frozen, there we go, then freeze has value. Freeze inherently has close to no value in of itself. It doesn't like add additional damage. It doesn't do any of that crap. It doesn't buff. It doesn't do anything. It simply stops the enemies from moving. So inherently, freeze is actually useless if you don't have a character who can take advantage of that window. And this should highlight to you once again how insane of a character Ayaka as a standalone carry is that she's able to utilize that short window to make the most out of her kit with one of the most insane scaled bursts in the whole damn game. And also that burst persists on field even when Ayaka's not on field. What the hell do I mean by that? For example, right? I'm going to use my burst and I can get, for example, I use Mona's E, I use burst, and I can get off. I can get off. Other characters can synergize with that burst. It's a great ability. It's simple. Maple wood. Don't mind if I do. There you go. It's a simple ability that you press one button and it takes care of everything. It's not complex. You don't have to really think about it. The AI pretty much does the thing for you. However, yes, there is positional awareness you have to have with Ayaka. Make sure you position yourself. Let's say, there's two mobs here, right? And they're lined up. You maybe want to get to here and skewer them so that when your burst passes through them, it damages both of them, right? So that's why, like, inherently, I feel like Ayaka is a character that holds a lot of value in anyone's account. It's very easy to build a freeze team. Like I just said, you don't need, like, because think about it like this. When you're building a character like Raiden Shogun, right? You got to balance what? Attack, energy recharge, but electro damage to a certain degree, right? Crit rate, crit ratio. In a freeze team, Rosaria can run butt-ass naked. Okay, that came out a little wrong. What I meant to say is Rosaria can run with no like artifacts or weapons. You're fine. It's okay. Ayaka can carry this team by herself with damage. Like that. That's it. And so that's why I keep saying, when it comes to Ayaka freeze team, everything you pile on beyond this variation, or like whatever the hell variation you have going for you, anything else you pile on is just luxury. Luxury. For example, running Ganyu, right? Better cryo application, provide good like alternative DPS option. Her burst skill does decent damage. Like when Ayaka has downtime where you want to, or Ganyu is in a more favorable position to do damage. Let's say Ayaka just wiped whatever the hell she's in front of her, and across the chamber, there's another enemy that's like shooting stuff or throwing stuff, or it's a ranged enemy. Switch to Ganyu, take care of it. This is a luxury premium. You don't need it. Ayaka can dash over there and make quick work of those enemies. It's just an extra couple of seconds of work. But having Ganyu here is a luxury. Same thing with Kokomi. Actually, Kokomi is the one thing I would argue maybe is not as luxury. Having the ability to heal your team is a much welcome addition. I'll just put it that way. Being able to heal your team while also applying Hydro to enemies is more valuable than what Ganyu can bring, for example. And then we have the basically the luxury of the luxury being Shenhe is just like, at this point, it's like you have a double frosted layer cake with additional batter, with additional like fruits, all the freaking layers and decorations, and on top of all of that, you want a second identical cake, right? You're not finishing that. You're not even finishing the first cake, let alone the second cake. Shenhe, like some people say, oh, the cherry on top. Nah, Shenhe is like a whole other cake to your cake with already a cherry on top. I think Kokomi is kind of like the cherry on top. Shenhe is a whole other damn cake. You don't need the second cake. The first cake was more than enough. But if you have the option, why wouldn't you? Right? Why wouldn't you? But heed my advice, people. If you're playing this game and you want to bolster your account, you want what's best for your account, you want to continue to grow your account strength-wise, and also leave options for yourself, right? Think about it like this. You pull Shenhe, you pretty much lock yourself into a cryo contract. Right? You're locked into a cryo contract with this character. Which is why I think, you know, for free-to-plays especially, don't ever lock yourself into anything in Genshin Impact. Ideally, you want 3 different teams that you can pull out anytime. Because there are situations in the Abyss where even with the most versatile teams, you could get shafted. It could be very uncomfortable. Now, if you're telling me, Walrus, I don't give a damn if I'm uncomfortable, I'm completely okay playing this game, you know, getting shafted every now and then in exchange for funsies, then I'll tell you, go for Shenhe, right? Shenhe is fine. Build up the most powerful cryo team you can and keep that in your back pocket as a reserve. But it's very difficult to recommend it right now that Baizhu is coming up. And I keep saying I have great expectations for characters such as Baizhu, because much like Kokomi when she first came into the game, having a character that can heal while also having application is very, very valuable. Now, I don't even know what Baizhu is going to do yet. If he doesn't heal, he has to offer us some sort of survivability. Right now with Yao in the game, I've already got a slight taste of like, okay, like this is what we can expect, right? So now with Baizhu coming in, hopefully Baizhu builds off of what Yao was doing for us and make it a little more exciting, more versatile, and just hit a home run, Hoyoverse. They already hit a home run with Alhaitham. I think, in my opinion, I like Alhaitham's playstyle more than Nilou's playstyle. Nilou feels too monotonous to me, too like on the nose. Alhaitham has that complexity, versatility for me personally, right? You guys might be thinking differently, but that's okay. They're both equally powerful characters. Ayaka, unfortunately, being a cryo unit, has been left out of the whole Dendro meta discussion. Hence is why you haven't seen her, right, being talked about. Late 7 said, you never answered my question on Discord. I don't think I was clear though. Probably my fault. Also, Shenhe. Wait. Are you talking about the there's only one question. You want me to answer that on stream? I'll answer you in PayPal. I mean, I'll answer you on Discord. Oh, okay. Someone asked. Okay, let's watch. Okay, there's a video that we should watch. Okay. Let me see. So this is the clip we were asked to evaluate, right? So let's take a look. This is what chamber 1 second half. Okay, lock him in the corner. Very nice, very smart. Wait, you skipped. Did you skip the Dendro Archon? I mean, like, it doesn't really matter what you use because it's Nilou. Like, that's why it doesn't matter. But like, did you skip the Dendro Archon? Yeah, bait him over. That's nice. It's just like, imagine having Mona in this team instead of Kokomi. It works, it still works, but you're going to be taking a lot of extra damage, and you got to be extremely careful what you do here if you had Mona instead of Kokomi. This is why I say, like, Kokomi, a lot of people would say is, oh, you know, she's like, you don't need Kokomi, like Kokomi is overrated. But a lot of the times, like, Kokomi just is such a welcomed addition to many team comps. Man, Nilou content to me is Nilou feels just as busted in these Abyss iterations as she did when she first came out. It's not like she suddenly fell off. It's not like suddenly Hoyoverse did like a 180 and was like, nah, she's useless now. She feels just as broken as when I first laid eyes on this character. Having 66,000 health as well. And Kokomi having like, what, 56,000? They face tank pretty much everything as well. Like, look. I'll be honest with you guys. If you had Mona in here instead of Kokomi, I don't think you'll have as easy of a time doing whatever the hell we have on screen. It's a great clear. Like, it's a very great clear, very efficient, being able to keep the enemies grouped and face tank while not having to run away. Remember, if you have to run away at times, you might end up in a very picky, like, very sticky situation, because once you ungroup enemies in the Abyss, it could be very difficult to regroup them back together. Especially for when you're running comps with the Dendro MC, meaning it takes you a couple rotations to get your burst back. If you don't group them properly in the beginning, you might pay for it with your time. You just have to rerun. And Mona doesn't give you that kind of luxury. Sometimes to face tank, just stand there, like, look at Kokomi. Kokomi doesn't give a damn. Kokomi doesn't care. Kokomi does what she pleases. Kokomi goes where she pleases. Kokomi tanks Super Bloom when she wants to tank Super Bloom. Kokomi tanks all enemy abilities if she wants to tank all enemy abilities. Kokomi doesn't care. Look at that. Like, you're just standing in the Super Bloom like it doesn't exist. Like it doesn't deal damage to you. It's cool. All right? So we can look at the stats. Oh. No. Energy recharge. Yeah, you see? This is the thing that, like, I've done a lot of account reviews, and one of the things people oftentimes ignore is how important it is for energy recharge to, like, even for characters that don't necessarily scale off of energy recharge, utility bursts are immensely important to have off cooldown as soon as possible. So let's say Xiangling is a great example of this, right? Xiangling doesn't necessarily scale off of energy recharge, but a lot of people will ignore energy recharge for Xiangling in pursuit of more attack, in pursuit of more damage. Like, even in substats, they'll prioritize crit rate, crit damage over energy recharge. And what ends up happening is Bennett's burst is ready to go and Xiangling's burst is still at half. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how much crit rate, crit damage ratio, like freaking perfection you have. It doesn't matter because you won't get to use it. You are severely behind the tempo of your team's burst cycling. That you become a huge detriment to damage output. It ruins rotations. It ruins timings. It ruins certain, like, for example, when you run Xiangling in Raiden National, the fact her burst is not back means Raiden won't get her resolve stacks. Right? It all snowballs into, and then, which means the fact that Xiangling isn't bursting means Raiden is going to hit as hard with her burst and Raiden has to use 2 bursts to cycle through one of Xiangling's bursts. Like the problem, and also that's just one character. Imagine if, let's say, you're running that composition and Xingqiu, for whatever reason, also has energy issues and isn't able to burst on cooldown, and you have to take 2 Raiden's bursts to cycle through Xiangling burst and Xingqiu burst. You're gonna have a miserable time. That's where most people struggle. That's what I'm telling you guys. Most people still, to this day, when I reviewed their accounts, they still prioritize damage over energy recharge. The fact they don't understand is, if you can get the burst going, especially for characters like Xiangling, for Xingqiu, for in this case Dendro MC and Kale also, to get their burst up as soon as you can to keep up the application and utility features of these bursts, you'll have a much better time clearing the content, as opposed to if you just blindly chase more damage. It's the same thing where you just stack like 280% crit damage, but you only have 25% crit rate. Like, you're not really taking advantage of all that crit damage. That's why ratios, balance is very important. Most people don't want to prioritize this stuff because it doesn't make them feel powerful. But what they don't understand is that utility, that consistency, is making them far more powerful than any amount of attack, EM, energy, attack, EM, HP, or whatever other stat, crit rate, crit damage that they're piling on their characters are, right? It's a waste. Yeah. Like, people don't understand it. I can't stress this enough, but people will still continue to make this mistake. And sometimes people come to me saying they can't clear content, and I just say, switch your sands, switch your weapons, all to E energy recharge. Just do it, and you can clear it. And they do it, and they clear it, because it's not a problem with damage, right? Genshin actually provides you a lot of ways to deal damage. But it's how you deal that damage. How do you get to the point to dealing that damage that stumps a lot of people? Sometimes it feels kind of like a trick question. Look at that. ER 225. Prioritize. Look, it's energy recharge. Energy recharge. Energy recharge. Did I see that right? They didn't even have, like, look, they only have a 2-set deep wood. It doesn't matter. Like, look, damage, all this stuff, like, doesn't really matter as long as you can get that uptime. Right? People, trust. Go for uptime. Once you can get uptime properly, then you're able to really enjoy Genshin for its versatility and combat styles. Great showcase. Okay, now we're back. We can record the video, I guess. So in the video, I'm probably not going to be as detail oriented as I did in live stream. I mean, obviously I had like an hour to show you guys the stats, explain my thoughts on the characters, right? Showcase certain compositions and stuff, really peel it back. So if you guys ever want more detailed version of some of these videos, tuning into the live stream, I can actually go over my thought process, share like the data that I'm working with you guys. Now, they might not be correct, and that's why we are here to kind of have you guys to bounce off of me. So for example, when it comes to constructing Ayaka teams, like, some people to this day will say Kokomi is a luxury and like luxury premium unit, unnecessary to pull for just to build Ayaka, and I do agree. But having Kokomi, as you guys saw in the demonstrations with the Dendro team comps, is that Kokomi has like exceeded the general usage of just being a freeze healer, right? So I think it's important for us to recognize the importance of characters and how they evolve beyond just their initial usage. So we didn't really highlight Kokomi. So before we go to record the video, I want to show you guys. Kokomi actually sits above Xiangling, sits above Yaimiko, sits above Nilou. Kokomi has a 56.5% usage, very beloved character. 45.4% of the people who owns her use her, who participate in this study. A total usage rate of 30,741. which of course cannot really rival the sheer number of some of these other units. Ratio wise, she I think sits at a very respectable percentage at being 56.5%. And I'll tell you guys this, she actually risen more since the Dendro came out, obviously, being one of the best off-field hydro applicators in the game, in who can also heal. In my opinion, very valuable unit. Now, yes, Xingqiu, Yelan being hydro applicators and damage-oriented hydro applicators will rank like higher than her. It's just that Genshin is a damage game, right? So, by extension of that statement, obviously characters who can do more damage are going to be valued more. And it shows in the statistics, it shows. And I would argue a lot of people who are running Kokomi are pairing her with Nilou. So the fact that Nilou is still staying strong in the meta means that Kokomi will stay strong in the meta. And to go even further, remember that Ayaka likely also has certain synergies with Kokomi. So there are probably a good amount of Ayaka players are also running Kokomi. So all in all said, Kokomi probably is the most valuable piece in this entire team comp, even though it's an Ayaka video that we're going to be making. Kokomi, you cannot ignore the importance of Kokomi. I think it's unfair nowadays if we say Kokomi is a luxury unit. I think Kokomi, by all accounts, is a great investment to have, especially as Fontaine is coming around. We're likely going to see hydro, especially applicators, be even more prevalent. However, I say that, but with the introduction of the Hydro Archon, maybe we'll see Kokomi fall off a little bit. Who knows? But is that HoYoVerse's intention? They have a unit that is quite niche, and by all accounts, very few people have. Like if you guys look at this, 54,000. So like ownage rate for Kokomi is actually 45.4. There's still a huge number of the player base who is yet to pull Kokomi. So is it not better to incentivize more people to pull Kokomi prior to shutting her off or giving us other options? Maybe we won't even have another hydro healer in this category, because why would they make another hydro healer when Kokomi functions 5? They will just keep rerunning her. So maybe the Dendro Archon will have nothing to do with healing. Maybe the Dendro Archon is here to finally replace Xingqiu. Who knows? But anyways, we can record the video now. Okay. Sup everyone, welcome back to another video. And today, I've sat here with chat pretty much for an hour and a half, going back and forth, talking about all sorts of different things. Oh, got the wrong character on screen. It's an Ayaka video, and also we're going to be talking about Shenhe. But when we evaluate Ayaka, as I've come to realize, it's not as simple as just looking at Ayaka. Now, yes, I did say we're talking about Shenhe, but it runs deeper than that. Ayaka as a character since her release has been very well respected. A lot of people play her to this day. People swear by her potential. She has one of the highest scaling bursts in the game. She can one cycle all bosses if built correctly. Now, of course, minus the ones with multi-phases, because that's kind of like cheating in a sense. Damage-wise, she is pretty loaded. So when we say Ayaka and Shenhe, their synergies potential, what do we really mean, right? We have to evaluate these two characters twice, essentially. Once at C0 and once at C6. Now, I know most people of you guys watching, even people in chat included, are free-to-play players. People who won't even think about C6, let alone C6 Shenhe. Like, if you guys want C6, get a C6 Ganyu, right? Get a C6 Zhao, go get a C6 Ito, go get a C6 Yelan. Ayaka, Shenhe usually aren't atop of people's lists, even if they daydream about getting a C6, right? Like in chat, I don't know how many people daydream about getting a C6 Shenhe. Yet, surprisingly, C6 Shenhe and C6 Ayaka are one of HoYoVerse's more successful kind of pairing campaigns, if that makes sense. Basically, C6 Shenhe was designed as a whale bait for C6 Ayaka players. And that's surprising, right? Why would HoYoVerse throw a bone towards the Giga Whales? Now, we've looked at some statistics when evaluating these characters. You guys wouldn't believe how high up Shenhe is when it comes to percentage usage. Now, it's important that we mention percentage usage because we have to first evaluate how many people actually own Shenhe versus how many people who plays her. So statistically, out of 120,000 data points collected by CN players, Shenhe has an 18% usage rate. So meaning out of the people who own her, 18% of them are using her. Now you guys might think, oh, that's terrifyingly low. But not really, but not really. She ranks above characters such as Sino. She ranks above characters such as Ganyu, Zhao. All characters you guys would really not think ranks below Shenhe. What? Zhao below Shenhe? Really, Walrus? Are you sure you're not tripping or something? But I assure you, statistically, it just proves that Shenhe has actually somehow withstood the test of time, even though Cryo nowadays has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with the general meta. I mean, there's still good options, don't get me wrong, but there has not been any incentives to run them. So let's reevaluate, right? Then why the hell is Shenhe still holding on so strong? And do you, as a free-to-play player, should you invest into a Shenhe? Now, statistically, if you just look at the statistics and move on from here, you would quickly think, oh, I mean, sounds like I should get one, right? But stop right there. I'm going to stop you right there because we have to evaluate Shenhe's presence and addition and bonuses to let's say a cryo team at C0. C0 Shenhe offers, in my opinion, a noticeable buff, but not enough to justify her premium cost. Meaning that when you say you pull a new 5-star character, right? Let's just use the more recent Al-Haytham. I know there's even more recent 5-star, but we're not going to talk about that because talking about that new 5-star is kind of taboo right now. So we're going to use Al-Haytham as an example. When you pull an Al-Haytham into your account, the amount of power spike and gains that this character is able to present your account should be substantial. Very noticeable. In fact, Al-Haytham, when it comes to value in primos, is a highly valued character, very high yield. Think of buying a stock and you're getting gains from a stock. When it comes to Shenhe, the gains are more like buying a government bond. I don't know why I'm using stocks to talk to video game players. It's low. It's relatively low. Al-Haytham is if you bought Tesla stocks or if you bought Bitcoin back in 2017. Thing just kind of blew off, took off. You went to the moon and back. But Shenhe feels much more mild. Yes, there is a gain. It's you gained 5-10%, right? And you can be happy you didn't lose, unlike the the people who bought Eula stocks, Venti stocks. Shenhe stocks, by all accounts, have held very steadily, very consistent. But at the same time, when you can essentially predict almost what are those to the moon stocks, such as Al-Haytham, such as the Hydro Archon, for example, and potentially Baiju is looking to be a great investment for you as well. Why should you even give Shenhe a second thought? Now, as somebody who has pulled a C0 Ayaka, if you guys can see on screen here, I have a C0 Ayaka, I have a C0 Shenhe, C0, C0. All 4 of these characters are C0. Now, they make a great team together. Most people will even drop Ganyu here in pursuit of someone like Kazuha, like Venti, like Sucrose to buff out Ayaka's damage more. And all the more reason to evaluate Ayaka as the prime carry of this team. Piling more damage onto Ayaka, by the definition of what we're doing here, Ayaka is an hyper carry in this team, because the definition of a hyper carry is pulling resources from the rest of your team in order to solo carry the entire 4-man team. all the damage, at least 80 to 90% of the damage comes from one character on the team. And by that definition, that should be a hyper carry team. So by accounts, Ayaka, if you were to drop Ganyu in this team and put Kazuha, Ayaka would then essentially turn out to be a hyper carry, and she actually can fill that role. Don't get me wrong, she can be an on-hit, she can be a hyper carry, she can be a shared DPS carry. My point is, Ayaka herself provides more than enough damage, more than you could ever possibly need in Genshin Impact to carry a team comp. You can switch out Ganyu for Rosaria, you can switch out Kokomi for Mona, you can switch out Shenhe for, I don't know, Diona. You can switch out, other Hydro. You can switch out Mona for Xingqiu. You can switch out Xingqiu for Yelan. You can switch out, Diona for Layla. The options there are pretty much endless, because the core concept of an Ayaka team is Ayaka dishes out the damage, but you set up the environment for her to deal that damage. Freeze has no inherent additional scaling from the character. It's not like, oh, if you have more attack, HP, or EM, the freeze lasts longer or does damage. No, freeze exists solely to keep enemies in place so that your carries can just whack on them and dish damage. Think of it as petrolized, like it's pretty much what Zhongli does, but with extra steps. Now, this might sound like I'm stroking Zhongli's ego a little bit here, which I am, right? Having a meteor come down that deals having a meteor come down that dishes, having a meteor that comes out and dishes insane damage while also essentially freezing the enemies in place, all in one ability, is incredible. And that's essentially what freeze does. And to be honest with you guys, freeze has a longer duration because of the characters that you can surround your rosters with. Kokomi, Mona, Xingqiu, Ganyu, Rosaria, these are all great characters to sustain a longer freeze duration, all in the hopes that your Ayaka can come in and slap some cheeks. Now, Shenhe definitely softens up those cheeks a little bit, but by no means do you need that softening. You can go in rock solid with Ayaka and completely demolish all your enemies. So again, free-to-play players, if you're watching this video, understand that Ayaka is more than enough. Even in a free-to-play team, Ayaka is kind of like the centerpiece of all of this stuff. Okay, without Ayaka, Shenhe essentially becomes unnecessary. Ayaka should always come first. She is the queen that you should be looking towards. Shenhe is a support. Now, Shenhe and Ayaka C12 is a whole different story. Now, if you're somebody watching this and you have an Ayaka C6, I mean, I shouldn't be the one to have to tell you this, but investing into a Shenhe C6 will essentially unlock one of, in my opinion, the most satisfying way to play the game. Press a couple of buttons, watch enemies just completely eviscerate, being atomized by Ayaka's burst skill. I mean, Shenhe's elemental skill, once you get to see her quails, essentially, her quails pretty much make all cryo units god. Now, I'm saying Ayaka right now because Ayaka is the prime example. Ganyu can also benefit from this as well. Once you highly invest into Shenhe, you essentially become a cryo maniac. You should never let a single cryo unit escape your grasp. Now, playing Chongyun with Eula with Shenhe C6, that becomes an option. Playing Cryo Zhongli, Chi-Chi on-field DPS, any sort of cryo existence. You can turn anyone into a cryo hyper carry through Chongyun. It's a bit roundabout of a way, but C6 Shenhe makes that viable. In many ways, you can even say it makes it like what, meta? No. But when it comes to damage, they output an insane amount of damage, and that's what Shenhe brings you. That's why I say investing into a C6 Shenhe turns you into a cryomania. But C6 Ayaka, C6 Shenhe has been one of the more successful things that HoYoverse has concocted in terms of whale bait. It has withstood the test of time. Incredibly satisfying. The speedrun community still can utilize this along with other options, but when it comes to C6 synergies, they essentially kind of take the cake by CN standards. Now, I'm not telling you guys you should drop over $1,000, maybe up to $2,000, getting C6R5 Shenhe to pair with your C6R5 Ayaka, but if you've already gone so far, I assure you Shenhe is going to be that next step that you can take to elevate your Ayaka. And it essentially is the only step you can take that gives you meaningful elevation to Ayaka's gameplay beyond your own C6R5. But all in all, to conclude, if you're free to play, just pull Ayaka, or if you already have Ayaka, just skip Shenhe. She is not worth it. Don't let boredom dictate what you play and pull. I think there's inherently more value when it comes to Baizhu coming up next. And if not, keep waiting, because every time, HoYoverse has done this twice, which is by no means setting a pattern, but every time before a new region gets released, they release a character in the patch before, which turns out to be insanely valuable. Now, are they going to do it again by, I don't know, like 2.8, 2.9, whatever the hell they have planned this time? I don't know, but it's safe to hold on to your Primo Gems. This is a period of saving. Shenhe is a premium luxury. The most luxury of the luxury in terms of unit value. And I urge you all to exercise caution when we move into the second half of this patch, because there's going to be a lot of videos, a lot of content of people praising these synergies, maybe even showcasing again C6 Ayaka, C6 Shenhe, essentially the C12 combo of these characters, which could get you easily baited into like, okay, maybe I can't achieve C12, but I can get C0 for both. Not the same. Not even close. Okay? So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Go out there, have some fun, try out different comps, try out different synergies, and maybe, just maybe, get lucky every now and then so you can pull characters that you didn't plan for. Sorry for Dia. I mean, we all really wish she was going to be good, but it's time to move forward, right? It's time to stop beating the dead horse, even for me, right? Milking content out here. It's time to stop. We need to look forward. I actually haven't farmed Ayaka artifacts in a long time. For some reason, she's been surviving off of this. She's been surviving off this for a very long time, and maybe it's time for me to reevaluate her artifacts. So let's work together for that. Till next time, I urge you to stay safe. Peace. Thank you for chat, and bye. My goodness, I'm sorry. I couldn't bring myself to dog on the Dia mains one last time. I think we should just let them be. Let's send them off with a bang. I'm actually really interested in looking at Dia's usage rate next couple of Abyss. I can't imagine it being higher than, I don't know, like 5%. I don't think Dia's gonna be higher than 5%. Wait, I got one new member. Wait, what? Hold up. Who became a member? Oh, Lay 7 rejoined 0 days ago. Welcome back. Welcome back, my friend. Did you check her sales? I had people message me about her sales. I don't think it deserves a video in of itself, but I did see it. It's pretty bad. I think they did break the new record. A new all-time low. Tech Devices worse. What I don't get is why you place Shenhe in your top 10 and Fischl Yaimiko did not even get a spot. Well, the thing is, I remember when I made that top 10, I even specifically said is that Shenhe could be a priority in your account if you already, like, should be like a top 10 priority in your account if you already invested into Ayaka and you're planning to continue to grow her, right? That was my take. And I think she's like the 10th most important thing. There's a bunch of people that I ranked above. And I remember I had Faruzan ranked at number 6. Don't get me wrong. I think for the vast majority of people, if you're just here to try things out, Shenhe is not a good character to invest into. But if you are dead set on maining Ayaka, and you know, like I said in the video I just recorded, Shenhe is by all accounts the only other way to power up Ayaka beyond herself. Essentially, that's the only way, like, if you want to tack more onto Ayaka. Now, you guys can make the argument for Ganyu constellations being, oh, but we can reduce more cryo resistance. I'll give you that. But like when it comes to meaningful boosts, like far beyond what Ayaka is capable of in of herself, Shenhe is the only other way. And if you're an dedicated cryo Ayaka player, Shenhe could be a great investment, but it's a long investment, right? Even I said in that top 10 video is that a lot of this is going to take time. You shouldn't expect to perfect and finish and finalize everything in just like a couple of patches. These are long-term goals that you can align yourself towards for like 2-3 years to come. I don't know where I saw this, but I remember somebody saying that if you played the game free to play since 1.0 and did all the events, collect every bit of Primogem, got everything, right now you should have about like what, 24 to 2500 pulls. Yeah, you like people, if you started playing this game since 1.0, you have 2500 summons worth of primos combined. That's a lot of summons. So for people who are playing right now, like you guys might think HoYoverse is extremely stingy, which by all accounts, like they are. They could be much more generous with what they give you guys. But 2500 summons is almost enough to guarantee a C6 R5 character. Like, imagine losing every 50-50. Like, yeah, I know 2500 is not enough, but it's very close to guaranteeing. Even if you lose every 50-50, you lose, and you have to go to 90 pulls, you will still be able to get a C6 R5 character. Right? So, by the accounts of that, HoYoverse is providing you guys with a lot of options out here when it comes to resources that are given to you guys. And yes, we're trying to be extreme and say guarantee, but more than likely, even sub 1000, like maybe around like 1000 something summons should be able to guarantee a C6 R5. Nobody really is going to go to every 90 pull. Nobody really is losing every 50-50, including weapons and character banners, right? It's just, that's a statistical anomaly. It's incredibly difficult, if not borderline impossible, to get that. Like, how many people in chat have actually gotten to 90 pulls to get? I've never. Out of all my summons, I think the worst I've ever gotten was like 83. I've never, ever gotten to 90 pulls. Out of all the characters that I've summoned in my account and viewers' account, I have never once gotten to 90 pulls. Statistically, it's very, very difficult. So, I think if you don't want the R5 weapon, there is a chance people who played since 1.0 could have like what? If you're lucky, maybe even 3 C6 characters now. If you are lucky. If you're unlucky, 1.5. I mean, no. If you're unlucky, you would still have 2 C6 characters now. So think about it like this, right? If you were a free-to-play player, right now, you could be rocking like a C6 Yelan and C6 Ito. You could very well rock with their weapons. And plus, maybe like on the off chance, like some other characters, some standard banner characters as well. You have a very, very powerful account. Is 1800 enough to C6 a character? Less than that. I think maybe around like what? 1300? You can probably get a C6. So that's all I'm saying, people. Like, work towards your long-term goals. It's good to set long-term goals for yourselves in a game like Genshin Impact, because there's realistically no way for you guys to get huge boosts in power apart from Archon banners. recent Archon banners have been providing us with a lot of like boosts in terms of damage, utility, potential versatility. Those are great patches to have. They come very far and few in between. Name is Nam, says 2,500 pulls, but you have to play for 3,000 hours. Isn't that a win-win? I think one of the biggest complaints people have in Genshin is how little you have, like how little gameplay you have. But if you can play 3,000 hours and get 2,500 pulls, I think for a lot of people who are complaining, that it should be a win-win. Unless people are now complaining, oh, but those are like monotonous tasks, those are boring tasks. Like, I'll give it to you, most Genshin events aren't really like fun-oriented, in my opinion. They're more like for Hoyoverse to diversify content and to kind of bait in different types of players to spend more time in their game. But, you know, we can see it from a more optimistic perspective. TechVirus says, Walrus, conditional choices don't help the vast majority. Official is meta enough to help the majority of players. Yeah, I see what you mean, but that particular, I think you're referring to the list, right? The top 10 list. But that list is particularly made to help people who have been asking me these type of questions. And during the time, there's a lot of people who was asking that should they pull Shenhe if they are like, you know, investing into Ayaka. They're like, oh, I'm already C4 Ayaka. I'm planning to pull constellations for Ayaka. You know, should I get Shenhe? So I think I just utilized that video to kind of answer those questions. Like the video was more so geared towards people who've been a part of my community asking me these questions, and I kind of answered it to them while giving them more generalistic ideas. Now, who did I mention for honorable mentions? Was it Al-Haytham? Did I say Nilu in my honorable mentions? I don't think I even said Nilu in my honorable mentions. Like, the list wasn't necessarily like a top meta list. Some of those characters like were meta and they're great characters. But I think that top 10 rerun, I titled the video like top 10 reruns, right? And I think that video was geared much more towards what my community was asking for in that time. Tech Device says, Warriors, why should you vertically invest? C0 is more than enough to clear the game. Well, it's the same thing why we don't eat bland ass food in real life. Right? Like when you eat food, do you put salt on it? Do you need salt to survive? Right? Like, why do people own cars? Are public transit not enough? Like, right? Like, why do you wear certain branded clothing? Why do you do anything? Like, why do you get the new iPhone? Are you really using that iPhone? Why are you getting like you know, the latest tech stuff? Why are you getting a PS5? You see, like, you don't need any of this stuff. Like, it's the same thing. Like, why do you need constellations? Do you need that to beat the game? No. But like, look at what we're doing in real life. It's right. Why go beyond the bare necessities for survival at all in doing anything? Right? Why? Right? So why, like, we need some seasoning, Marcus Bull. Is that not true for Genshin? You need some flavor, right? You need to differentiate a little bit. You need to live a little. That's why, like, it's all, especially when it's for entertainment, right? So Ezra says, yeah, you do need a little salt, a little, but the amount of salt that people consume on a daily basis, is it not excessive? Right? My point is, why does anybody do anything beyond the bare minimum? Right? Oh, you can beat C0 with the game. I mean, you can function fine without a smartphone. Why do you need a smartphone? How many people in chat are using flip phones? How many people in chat are still using like Nokia phones? Like, are you guys really putting to use all the computing power these things are able to generate? Or is this a luxury good that you own for the sake of owning it? Right? It's the same thing when people say like, oh, why, like C0 can beat the game. Why do you go beyond that? Right? It's the same thing. Tech says, it's not the same thing. You can go beyond horizontally and pick up a variety of things you enjoy. I mean, is that not the same in life as well? Like, you can eat a hamburger, you can eat a pizza, you can eat like, you know, sushi, you can eat like all this stuff. But sometimes people just prefer to have a routine. Sometimes people just love certain things. Right? Why do people go on certain diets? Why do people go like prefer certain types of food? Why are some people prefer chicken over beef, over, veal, over preferences, right? Techie? You can't say, oh, I enjoy a variety of different proteins, so you should too. Right? So for example, I'm out here saying like, hey guys, if you guys enjoy beef, you guys should really try making beef in this particular way. And then you guys can maybe try some Wagyu beef. And then your argument is like, oh, but Walrus, why would you tell them to try Wagyu beef when it's so damn expensive to do so, when they can go try chicken, they can go try venison, they can go try, but what if they don't want to try venison? What if they don't want to eat chicken? What if they just want beef? They want like, okay, what's the best way to make beef? I like beef. I want to eat more. Right? It's like we are simply providing them options to a more premium experience. Like, why should you give Wagyu a try? Why should you give, anything a try? Anything of like luxury a try? Walrus smartphone is C0, getting iPhone Pro Max is consolation. Yeah, but how many people have iPhone Pro Maxes who don't need them? Like, Techie, how many people do you think are getting iPhone Pro Maxes who actually need them? Who are like pro filmmakers being like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a feature film using the iPhone. I'm really gonna push this phone and its features to the max. Very few people, I'm telling you, very few people, borderline none. So why do we do it? Like, a lot of this stuff scales micro and macro wise. In this case, Genshin is like the micro scale of things. Being like, it's just expanding upon like what we already do IRL. Like, this phenomenon isn't just exclusive to Genshin. Just go all out and eat Wagyu and never try it again. Yeah, it's like you C6 your Ayaka, and that's it. You'll never do it again. Like, you'll never C6 another character, at least in the way you did it. Let's say you swiped to C6 Ayaka. That's it. I'm done. I'm never swiping to C6 another character. I did it just for Ayaka because I love Ayaka. I want the best for Ayaka, and I'm going to main Ayaka. I'll probably slowly work my way to a C6 Shenhe, but that's it. That's a one and done thing for the experience, right? It's kind of like going on a vacation. Why do we go on vacations? Why do we travel? Why do we go see things? Why do we do any of this stuff? It's to experience, right? Tech Advice says, okay, so people will keep eating Wagyu beef for 6 years of Genshin or try different meats. Isn't doing the same thing including boredom faster? Well, the thing is, Techie, with that example, they try Wagyu once and it's a one and done experience. Just like I pull Ayaka C6 once, I don't have to pull Ayaka C6 when she comes around next time. I'm done. That's a one and done thing. I am done with this. And in the case of Genshin, you can experience Ayaka C6 for a prolonged, as long as you keep playing the game, that Ayaka C6 is there. Always there. You log on, you want to play Ayaka C6, right there. That's done. You already put in the investment. So in that sense, it's very different from food, right? And Genshin has proven time and time again, they refuse to power creep their units. Very, very rarely does a new unit come out that completely smashes the previous one. In fact, the most recent case of Sino, HoYoverse doesn't even want a popular, recently released Electro unit in a Dendro meta space to power creep a standard banner unit. Think about that for a second. Like, that's why I can sit here and tell you guys, it's not a bad idea to hunt for some constellation, especially the key constellations of certain characters like Raiden C2. That's a low-hanging fruit that most people can get immense value from hunting for. And don't tell me, oh, but Walrus, you're telling them to spend money. I am not. You have 2,500 summons if you started in patch 1.0, and there's still a decent amount of you guys out there. 2,500 summons, that is enough to allocate in and between getting some C1, C2. In my opinion, sticking with C0 characters is the more bland way to playing the game. Right, think about it like this. You have a couple C1, C2s, you have a couple C0s, you still get the range of variety and potential versatility in playing different compositions and options, but there are a couple ones here that you have a little more of. right? It's like, let's say you're not a huge proteins guy. You love your veggies, right? You can have a platter of different type of assorted vegetables, you know, with different mixtures of flavors. And then you can have a small piece, like maybe you just have a poached egg or something like that on the side. Or you have, like, I don't know, like very minimal protein. It's kind of like Genshin. Like, if you want to play, let's say, Pyro and Geo, you could have gotten a C2 Ito. You could have, like, invested into a C1 Hu Tao with the Staff of Homa. You don't have to C6 your Ito. You just need to put a little more in it than you would otherwise. You have a C0 Raiden because you don't care, right? You have maybe a C0 Ayaka. You can still afford all these characters. I'm not telling you guys, oh, you have to C6 your Ito. Get your C6. No, I'm saying, over time, if you like Ito, if you like Hu Tao, you can invest into them more so over a longer period of time, getting their constellations, building towards maybe a C6 Ito after 3-4 years of playing the game. You will get that. Like, for example, what's his name? We had him on interviews. There's a viewer that we have here who has a C6 Ito, and he's a Welkin player. By no means like an extravagant spender. They've been spending $5 every single month since, I believe it was, what was it? Like Hu Tao banner. The first Hu Tao banner, like it's 2021, I believe. 2021 February, they've been a Welkin player and they spent 1 year and something to get a C6 Ito. And they still had other characters. It's not like C6 Ito is all I have in this account because I spent everything. No. Right? They have a bunch of different rosters of characters. And they also have a C6 Ito just chilling there. And I think that's a great way to play the game. Have some flavor, have some flair once in a while. If you want a character, if you want to invest into a playstyle, a character's playstyle that you truly enjoy, you shouldn't let other people saying like, oh, but like, you know, like, you don't need that. You don't need anything. You don't need 5 stars, period. You can beat this game with 4 stars. Why are you even polling a C0? You can play Hyper Bloom with 4-star characters. Why do you need 5 stars? Well, like, by that extension, you don't even need C0 5 stars, Techie. Why are you getting 5 stars? Can you not beat the game with 4 stars? Right? So then why is the threshold, oh, just get 1 copy? Why get any copy? Right? Like, the argument kind of breaks down, in my opinion. If you're gonna say stop at C0, why stop at C0? Why not just stop before you even get the C0? Just play the game with the free-to-play characters. Get a true free-to-play experience. Right? TechRoss says most of these cons don't change playstyle, they just increase damage turn. But there are constellations that change playstyle. Those constellations exist. Raiden, for example, in my opinion, once you get her to C2, she becomes a much more potent hyper carry. Right? If you want to play C0 Raiden as a hyper carry, that playstyle exists, but it's not efficient enough to justify. There are far better hyper carry teams. Like, you're just playing it for the sake of playing it and saying, oh, look, this damage number is good enough. But realistically, her damage cannot compare to other hyper carries when she is at C0, which at C2, she crushes some other options. Right? So that's why I think when we evaluate these kind of playstyles and characters, and Techie, what you're saying is getting C like constellations on characters completely stops you from versatility. But what I'm arguing is you can have versatility and constellations at the same time. These two things are not mutually exclusive. You're making it sound like they're mutually exclusive. You're saying just by getting one constellation, you forgo all versatility in your account, which is not true. Just because you got one constellation doesn't mean your account is ruined in terms of versatility. And sometimes that one constellation, let's say right now, Techie, are you telling me it's more valuable to pick up a C0 Dia over, let's say, a C1 Yelan? Right? Because by your argument, it's more valuable to pick up a C0 Dia over a C1 Yelan because she offers you a new playstyle. When this character may not be like a welcome addition to the vast majority of players. And C1 Yelan here wins in terms of value. And maybe what you're saying is, okay, then skip both of them. Don't get C1 Yelan, don't get C0 Dia, then go for another character, right? So then you just kind of hop and skip in between, and you pick up the good ones and you leave the bad ones, and then you end up with a roster of C0 characters that can do a bunch of different things when you can only run 2 teams at the same time. But you're saying, but I can choose whenever I want to play these characters, and I can get the versatility that I want. But I'm telling you, even if I pulled C1, C2 here and there, I can still have a wide variety of different options that I can have to myself, even as a free-to-play at this point, that I can still pick and choose, let's say 6, 7 different teams, right? Because at a certain point, let's say you have 15 different options. Like, what the hell are we doing here, right? Are you really going to be like mixing in 15 different variations of playstyle every single day? Or are you much more selective of what you like to play? That's what I'm saying. It's about balance, right? Technical is Warriors by definition of getting C6 ruins versatility. Yeah, but I'm telling you to get C6 over, let's say, 5, 6 years. How many, like, Techie, how many unique units are released every year? And how many just, like, copy, paste, reskinned designs and kits are released? You're basically saying every unit that comes out is a uniquely personalized experience, where I am arguing probably every year we're getting like 3 or 4 maybe good units that are like unique and versatile and strong and long lasting. And you're telling me throughout the year people can't, you know, pull these characters? Let's say Archons, that's one. Someone like, I think Yelan is another uniquely powerful character in of herself, right? I'm talking last year. So we got Nahida, Yelan. Who else? Who else came out last year? Yeah, Miko, let's say. Yeah, like people are saying Yelan's not even that unique because you have Xingqiu. But Yelan opens up the options to play Xingqiu on one team, Yelan on another. So I'm going to give it to that because it opens up different team compositions. And Double Hydro is really, really cool. Sino is not unique, my friend. You have Kaching. You have Razor. Yeah, like, truly, like, look, Techie, how many truly unique characters that are long lasting, meaning like people are still playing them, but people's like, oh, Hazel's amazing. 0.1%. Okay, 0.1%. People don't play these characters anymore. Yoimiya, but you have Hu Tao. Hu Tao Yoimiya kind of does the same thing. They're both single target pyro vaporized carries that relies on elemental infusions. Xiao is unique. I'll give you that. Xiao is fairly unique. But however, Xiao has fallen off quite a bit, right? Xiao has fallen off quite a bit. But for people who still play him and are dedicated to playing Xiao, he's a very unique character. And getting that C1 Xiao feels pretty damn good, does it not? Like with that, was it the triple dash, right? Generated the sparkle, makes him a little more comfortable to play. And eventually when you build him up to C6, he's a completely different unit. And now you can also pull C6 Photozan to power up your Xiao. All of this stuff, you know, it offers a great and interesting way to continue to invest into him. But you see, Techie, you can still have options and versatility even if you're working yourself towards the C6 characters. Walrus low splendid can only get 1 unit every 2 patches. There are more units to get. Getting C2 Nahida means missing Nilou, Baiju, next patch, for example. Yeah, I don't disagree. Polling for constellations will mean you're missing out on newer characters, of course. But right now, let's say that. But my point is, not all new characters are worthwhile. And yes, Hoyoverse are very smart sometimes in positioning really good characters next to each other. Like Nilou was right before Nahida, right? Like but realistically, getting a C2 Nahida isn't like the end of the world for you. C2 Nahida is different from C2 Raiden. C2 Nahida makes all of these compositions better. You're basically sacrificing the options of playing certain compositions for the sake of all of similar types of composition ceiling to go up by 20% essentially. That's what Nahida C2 does, right? So by sacrificing Super Bloom, by sacrificing these playstyles, for example, your Kaching team, your now a Hatham team maybe, or if you pulled Sino, I don't know, your Sino damage, all their ceilings get bumped up by 20%. permanently for all future Dendro-centric teams. That's an investment. Like, but that's only if you value that. If you want your Sino to do that, if you want your Alhaitham, if you want your Kitchen, if you want any of these other Dendro teams to do more, then you sacrifice Nilou. Right? You sacrifice that. And does that mean you can't get Nilou when she reruns? No. But your argument also only holds true if these characters don't get reruns. But they do get reruns. So now if you're like, oh damn, I really wish I had a Nilou, save for her. Save for her. Right? It's as simple as that. These characters come back. They're not one and done things. So that's why, like, over a longer period of time, you'll have a much richer experience of Genshin, in my opinion, if you have invested into some constellations here and there sparingly for the characters that you truly enjoy. And once again, you're still gonna pull a wide variety of different characters, right? Your argument is that by pulling constellations, you're foregoing the options of playing these different team comps, which is not true. Because reruns exist. Right? Reruns exist. If you really feel like you missed out and you want to get them on their reruns. Right? That's what I'm saying. But you shouldn't just get C0 everything. Like, you're telling people to only get C0s, never pull for constellations, because constellations ruin versatility and ruins your ability to try out new things. Which in my opinion is false. Because you're looking at this too black and white. You're like, only C0, no constellations. You cannot get constellations because it ruins synergies. But what I'm saying is, sparingly, every now and then, getting constellations is absolutely fine. It won't be a detriment to your overall Genshin experience, both in terms of versatility, power, and everything. And in fact, I'm willing to argue it's a superior way to invest into your account over a long period of time. Let's say you're only playing for a year. Sure, get a bunch of C0s, try out the game, beat the abyss a couple times, you know, see the story, what it has to offer, and dip out after a year. You're done. You're over. But if you are planning to play this game, at least for the foreseeable future, it's good to kind of settle and nest down, hunker down with a couple strong options, and invest into them. Really have them be like the heirlooms of your account. It's like when you pass your account on to your future children and be like, take this account, for it has a C5 Ito daddy's been working on for the past 37 years. Oh, it's something to be proud of. It's something to really take pride in, that you've built this up over a long period of time. Don't look at it too black and white. Be like, oh, it's one or the other. You can either go full C0 or no C0. Right? It's like you can only go then get everybody to C6. Or only get C0. No, you can get C1, C2, you can get C0 for these characters. Some characters are great at C0. Like Nahida's great, Nilou's great, like Sino, you can work well at C0, but there are certain other characters that, you know, getting C2 just feels amazing for them. And in my opinion, makes the game a lot more vibrant. Right? Vibrant. Sometimes I can hear colors, if you know what I mean. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and yeah, you guys got to play this game however you want, whatever is fun for you, right? Like if getting constellations feels boring, like for example, Teki says he doesn't want to get constellations. It's so redundant, right? Like he never struggles with clearing content. Why bother? Then for Teki, just stick with C0. But if, let's say, you have like a bunch of different C0 characters and you regret like half of them, you're like, why do I even have these characters? I don't want these characters. I really like playing these characters. Then maybe it's time to stop polling for C0 characters. Like maybe that's not for you. Maybe you're the type to really invest into a select few and feel like a god. It's like, why are some people into rom-coms while other people are into fantasies? Right? Why do some people enjoy watching a powerful main character dominate over their competitions throughout the whole series, while other people like to watch a struggling, developing protagonist go from someone weak into someone strong? Think about that. Think about that. It's preferences, right? And I'm here as somebody who offers my insight on my preferences and what I think like my regrets, I'd say certain C0s I've regretted pulling, certain constellations maybe I regretted pulling, certain investments I regretted putting into characters, so that you guys maybe can see what I went through and judge for yourself, okay, do I want that or do I not want that? Because I tell you guys my thought process, well, when I pulled this character, this is why I did it, and it ended up being either true or not true. And you guys can say, okay, that's what I want, so if I pull for a constellation, I can get that. But Walrus found out later that, you know, that wasn't necessarily like, and you guys can use that information to help make a better educated decision for your own account. Right? And that's all I have to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys on next Saturday? See you guys on Saturday. Yeah. But Ayaka and Ganyu, same DPS character rules. They kind of differ nowadays. Ganyu is more focused in like a melt team, and that's what most people play her as. Some people still stubbornly play her in Morgana teams. Kind of works when it works, but most of the time it doesn't really work. It still works, but not nearly as effective. Ayaka is much more of your traditional carry role. Like, if you think traditional carries, Ayaka fits that role. Ganyu is kind of more like all over the place. Okay? Hope that answered your question. Yeah. Till next time, we're gonna stay safe. Peace, peace. Bye-bye.